So welcome to this summer lesson series with Mr. Ing. Okay, all right. So for this summer lesson series, we're going to be looking at 4 different things. All right. So the first 2 lessons are on integers. Okay. All right. And then the next 2 lessons are on statistics and then equations, respectively. So the goal for you is to watch 1 video per week and then do the questions for the rest of the week, or actually study, because some of these videos, they're gonna be fairly long, and it's going to require you to practice and study constantly. Okay, and I decided to do 1 topic per week so that it's not too much information at any one time, but nonetheless it would still require you to do quite a bit of studying. Okay, and hopefully you can learn this, and by September, when you're in 7th grade, you would be either right at or ahead and be ready for your 7th grade math classes. Okay, so the first lesson here today, we're going to talk about 2 things. We're going to talk about how to add and subtract integers, all right? And then in lesson 2, we're going to talk about multiplying and then dividing integers. So let's focus on this first. So how do you do it? Well, the rules for adding and subtracting integers can be derived by looking at the number line. So here's what we're going to do. So you might want to write this down, right? You might want to write this down. Introduction to integers, all right? Definitions. All right, press pause and copy this down. Okay, here we go. So when we talk about definitions now, we're not going to talk about the definition of a definition. We talked about this early in the year. So what's an integer? It's a member of the set of positive whole numbers, negative whole numbers, and zero. So in other words, I'll tell you what's not an integer. This is not an integer, right? It's not a whole number, right? It has to be whole numbers. Now, it could be positive whole numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so to speak, all right, so on and so forth. Negative whole numbers and zero. So again, this is not an integer, all right? So make sure you know that. Okay, now 0, is that an integer? Yes, you bet. All right. Negative integers, any number that's less than 0. Okay, you must have. Yeah, we went over this in class this year. Okay, that's all I gotta say about that. Opposite numbers, we talked about that, right? So the opposite of 5 is what? 5, right? What's the opposite of 10? Yep, negative 10, right? Absolute value. Okay, we talked about absolute value, right? Absolute value is how far a number is away from 0. So if we have the absolute value of negative 5, how far is negative 5 away from 0? Yeah, the distance is 5, right? Now, that said, what's the absolute value of positive 5? Yeah, 5, right? Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Next. So, okay, adding integers and subtracting integers, know the rules. Okay, so let's talk adding with the same signs. Now, right off the bat, you might say, hey, Mr. Ing, what do you mean by same signs? Same signs meaning this. If you were to add with the same signs, both signs have to be the same, meaning they either have to be both positive, right? Because there are only 2 kinds of signs, all right? This is not the horoscope, all right? You don't have Libra and like, what's another one? Sagittarius, things like that, right? There are only 2 signs in math. Either your positive signs or you have negative signs, right? So what do I mean by the same signs when you're adding them? You're either adding with numbers with the same signs, meaning they're either both positive or both negative. Okay, so now to do that, we're gonna use a number line, all right? And I am going to show you this. All right, hold on, let me do something real quick. So imagine, right? I think we must have talked about that. You remember that cat food commercial, Meow Mix, right? Meow 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 meow, right? So that's this. All right, now if we're gonna have 3 plus 3, I know the answer is 6. I'm not here to insult your intelligence, but I want to show you what it technically looks like on a number line, right? So if you start at 3, right, and you plus 3, you add another 3, you will go 3 more to the right, right? So oops, wrong thing here. You know what? Actually, let me lock this in place, so that won't happen again. Yeah, you know what? Hold on. I'm gonna press pause and come right back. I'm gonna do it for all the other number lines. All right. Actually, it was only one more number line. Okay, so one more time. All right, let's start from the beginning. So here we have our cat, right? By the way, if you notice, the cat has like one eye bigger than the other. All right, I thought that was interesting to me. Okay, so again, we start at positive 3, right? Right here. That's this 3. Okay, we're gonna add 3 to it, right? So meow, 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 right? So we end up at 6, right? Again, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I'm just trying to make a very, very basic point. Now, likewise, if we have negative 3, right? Notice how we start at negative 3, and then we add another negative 3. That means we wouldn't go to the right, right? Because negative signs would indicate that we're going to the left. So how many spaces will we go to the left? Yep, 3 more, right? So I start at negative 3, I go 3 more to the left. Meow, 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 right? That's negative 6. So in other words, let's summarize real quick what we've learned so far, all right? If you're adding, now, there are a couple of things I want to emphasize here. One is we're adding, right? We're not talking about subtraction. And we're talking about the same signs, okay? I'm talking about a very, very specific set of rules here. Do you guys understand? So I'm adding with the same signs. Adding with same signs, okay? So watch this, right? So let's say we ignore this, right? What's the rule then? Okay? So notice how like 3 plus 3, right? Positive 3 plus positive 3 is positive 6. Whereas negative 3 plus negative 3 is negative 6, right? So what's the rule here? Okay, actually, you know, let me see if you can practice one on your own. So let me give you this. If I have negative, no. If I have 5 plus 2, right? Where would that end up? Yeah, it will be 7, right? I mean, you don't need a number line and a cat, right, to figure that out, right? You would know that. However, what is negative 5 plus negative 2 then? Yeah, it's negative 7, right? So there are two ways you can think about it. You can think about it in terms of the number line. You start at negative 5, and you go 2 more to the left, right? Because you're adding negative 2. You're not adding 2. You don't go to the right. You go to the left. 1, 2. So you ended up negative 7. So here's the thing then, right? Now, I mean, you're not going to do this on a test, right? Every time your teacher asks you, hey, what's negative 5 plus negative 2? You're not going to take the time to draw a number line and then like start going meow, 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 meow. You're not going to do that, right? So you are going to need a set of rules, and not only that, you need a set of rules where you use it so much that you wouldn't have to use the rules again. Like, so I would think that this is almost like learning the multiplication table. Actually, this is exactly like learning the multiplication tables, right? Because you're not gonna draw like groups of like, I don't know. I actually don't even know like how people teach multiplication, all right? Because I've never taught multiplication table before. I mean, I'm a middle school teacher. So, but you would have to know it like you know the multiplication table. So if I were to ask you what is 9 times 7, like there's nothing to calculate. You would know the answer in a second, right? Same thing. The expectation is by the end of 7th grade, you can do this as quick as you do your multiplication table. So what's the rule? Okay, write this down. When you're adding with the same signs, You add the numbers and then you keep the sign. All right, let me change this to a different, yeah, much better. All right, again, when you're adding with the same signs, you add the numbers and then you keep the sign. Okay, so what I mean, right? You add the numbers, right? 3 plus 3, what's the sign here? Positive, answer, positive. Same thing here. 5 plus 2 is 7, right? What's the sign? Positive. What's the answer? Yeah, it's positive. Positive 7, right? So in other words, what you need to know is when you're dealing with integers, you always have to be mindful of two things. One is what's the numeric answer? What's the actual number? And then the second thing you got to worry about is, hey, what's the sign in front of the number? Okay, so watch one more time. What's 3 plus 3? 6, right? And when both signs are the same, you keep the sign. It stays negative. Okay? Likewise, 5 plus 2, that's 7, right? They're both negative. Since they're the same signs, what's the answer? You keep the sign. It's negative. Okay, do I practice for you? No. Let me give you some questions to practice on then. Okay, all right, let's practice a little bit. How are we doing on time? Yeah, just about. All right, so let's see, practice. Okay, so let's try these. So number one, what is, now I'm gonna stay away from all the positive numbers, okay? Because that's no different than what you've been doing all your life. All right, what's negative 3 plus negative 7? Right, add the numbers, right? Same signs, right? Keep the sign, right? Okay, so one more time. What's 10 plus 100? Yeah, 110, okay, right? Same signs, right? What is negative 1,000 plus negative 2,000? Yep, negative 3,000, right? Let's do two more. Okay, so you see where we're going with this? How about this? What's negative 5 plus negative 10? Yep, negative 15. And then lastly, I want to show you one more. What's negative 100 plus 0? Aha, negative 100, right? It's a 0. Nothing changes, right? Okay, all right. So now that you know that, let's move on. Notice here now slightly different. Now we're adding, right? We're still adding. We're not changing the operation. But we're adding with the signs that are different. So what are different signs again? Now we're adding either a positive and a negative number together or a negative and a positive number together. Got that? So here, right? Now, let's use a number line. Here, let's say we have 5 plus negative 3, right? So watch this. So we're going to start at 5, right? Now, since this is plus negative 3, we need to go backwards. So that means we need to go to the left 3 times. So meow, meow, meow. Now, where did that end up? Yep, 2. Positive 2, right? As a matter of fact, this is positive 2, right? This is a positive 2. However, let's say we switch the sign. So we went from 5 to negative 5, negative 3 to positive 3. So let's start at negative 5, right? And then we went 3. Now, plus 3 means plus positive 3, which means plus 3 to the right. So 3 times. Meow, 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 right? Negative 2. So that begs the question, what's the rule here? And the rule is when you add with different signs, have you noticed, by the way, let's see if you can come up with the rule on your own. You see how this is 5 and 3, right? And this became a 2, right? How did that happen? Like, what operation can you perform with 5 and 3 where it will give you 2? And notice, this happens to be the same here too. Have you noticed? Right? Between 5 and 3, the answer is 2. So first of all, you need to know, hey, how do I get 2 as an answer between 5 and 3? That's right. It involves some element it involves some element of subtraction. There's subtraction involved there. Okay? Now, here's the second thing. What about the signs? Have you noticed anything? This one's very tough to notice about the signs. Okay? Have you noticed about the signs? Why is this positive? I mean, look at the 5 and the 3. Look for a clue here. Between the 5 and the 3, right? The answer here is positive 2. However, between the 5 and the 3 here, the answer, have you noticed, is negative 2. Like, what changed? What's different? Yeah, exactly. So look, the 5 here is the larger number, right? Have you noticed? And what's the sign of this larger number? Is it a positive or negative 5? Yeah, it's positive. So therefore, the answer comes out positive. On the other hand, have you noticed between 5 and 3, although 5 is the bigger number, what's the sign in front of the 5? Yes, negative. So you see how the sign came out negative? Okay, so here's the rule. And I'll read. All right. When adding with different signs, subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. Okay, one more time. When you're adding with different signs, like we're doing here, right, with these two examples, you subtract the numbers, right? So 5 minus 3 is 2. 5 minus 3 is still 2, right? What's different? Keep the sign of the larger number. So what's the larger number? 5, right? What's the sign? Positive. Answer, positive. On this one, you see that 5 and 3, right? The answer is 2, but what's the sign? Well, the larger number is 5. What's the sign in front of that? Negative. What's the answer? Negative. Okay, so let's do some examples. So let's say, all right, let's practice. Okay. All right, so look at 5 plus negative 4, right? Okay, let's do 5 of these together. Okay, so 5 plus negative 4. So signs are different, right? So your decision-making tree, okay, when it comes to adding, by the way, looks something like this. You always have to ask yourself, are they the same signs or different signs? Okay, so if you're a more of a visual learner, that's the first question you gotta ask yourself when you're adding. All right, you will say, self, are these the same signs or different signs? Why? Because they have different rules, right? So, okay, all right, one more time. Sign, we're adding, right? We're adding. Oh, what happened? We're adding. Okay, that doesn't look good. Let me undo this. All right, so we're adding. Now, are they the same signs or different signs, right? Same signs, what do you do with the same signs? Yeah, you add them, keep the sign, but this is not the case. Different signs. What do you do when you have different signs? You subtract them. 5 minus 4, that's 1. And then you keep the sign of the larger number. Who's the larger number? 5, right? What's the sign? Positive? Positive 1. Okay? Now, what about this? What about negative 10 plus 5? What would that be? Same signs or different signs? Yeah, different signs, right? So signs are different. You subtract them. Keep the sign of the larger number. What's the larger number? 10. What's the sign there? Negative. Negative 5 is your answer. Okay. What about 3 plus negative 8? Signs are different. You subtract. Just take the 8 and minus the 3. Okay, I just want to know how different they are. And then, who's the sign of the larger number? Negative. Right? 2 more. What's negative 7 plus 10? Signs are different. Right? So you subtract. Who's the larger number? 10. What's the sign there? Positive. Answer is positive. Okay, last one. Negative 10 plus positive 10. 10 minus 10 is 0. That's it, done. All right? because there's no number that's bigger, and you can't have a negative 0. There's no such thing as a negative 0 or positive 0 for that matter. So don't write that. Okay. Now, this will also help you intuitively understand where these rules are coming from. So especially with, let me see if I can use this. Okay, now I'm going to use arrows. Okay, so let's go back to the first example, right? 3 plus 3. If you go from 3 plus 3, we went from 0 to 3. And then we also went from another 3, where the answer ended up being 6. Right? However, let me use a different color. No, that's not it. Where was I? If you use this, right? Let's say you started at here. Okay, this is very this is kind of annoying. I can't get rid of this and draw at the same time. Oh, now I can. Oh, all right. Here, right? If I start at -3, I have to go this way. Go 3, and then I have to go another -3. This is why I ended up at -6, right? On the other hand, with different signs, imagine, right? So the reason why I'm showing you this is this. You notice how with adding with the same signs, whatever you do, you're just doing more of it, right? If I have +3 and I add 3, I go right and then I go right again, right? Everything's in the same direction, right? Even with subtraction, right? So look, even when I'm subtracting, right, and I got -3 plus another -3, I'm just going more and more left, right? Everything becomes more of what it was. So if you got a positive plus another positive number, it becomes even more positive. It's even further to the right of the number line. Same thing with 5 plus 2, right? And even if you go negative, you've got -3 plus -3. You go even more left of the number line. Same thing here. You're not switching directions. However, when you add with different signs, different story. Watch this. 5 plus -3, right? So let me use a green line instead. Yeah, all right. So if I start at 5, let's say I go from 0 to 5, right? That's 5 plus -3, watch this. Now I have to go back in the other direction. I have to go 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. Guess where I ended up? Yeah, 2, right? Same thing here. If I start at -5, so let's say I have to go, so what should I do? Yeah, I'm gonna draw the arrow. Okay, so let's say I go to -5 first, right? Hence the red arrow. Let's say I go to -5 first, and then I plus 3. Hold on. Let's see. Plus 3. 1, 2, 3. I ended up at -2, right? So what am I trying to tell you? Okay, in the first case, whatever number it is, it becomes more of it, right? If it's positive and you add another positive, it becomes more positive. Same thing with negatives. However, when you add with different signs, it's totally different. You go in one direction and you come back in another direction. So why am I telling you this? Look, in the first case, all right, let's not even look at this, all right? In the first case, here we went 5, so 5 plus -3. We went 5 to the right and 3 back, right? So we go 5 to the right and 3 back. The question is something like this. Let's say, right? Let's say you're walking, all right? So let's use this cat. Let's say you're walking, right? And you go 5 to the right, and then you take 3 steps back. Where will you end up? Yeah, you still end up at number 2, right? You see that? So the question is something like, okay, after you've added and after you've gone to the right and after you've gone to the left, where are you still ended up? That's the question. So to find that, you would need to know, well, what are the difference of my steps? I took 5 to the right and then 3 back. So that means I really took only 2 steps. In which direction? To the right. That's why it's positive. Okay? Likewise, let's say you started off here, right? You went -5 first. So let's say you took 5 steps back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you went 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3, right? So where did you end up? -2. So in other words, after all those differences, where you still ended up? -2. Okay, that's what that's trying to say. Okay, all right, let's see. I think it's time for you to practice. Yep, practice time. Okay, lots of questions. Good. Okay, all right. Yeah, I got way more practice for you. So, okay, here's what you're gonna do. All right, let's do one of each section, and then I'll give you some time to practice, and then I'll go over it with you. Okay, so you're gonna have to write this down. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, number 1, right? Adding with the same sign. So what do you do when you add with the same sign? By the way, you're gonna have to memorize those rules. Yeah, I'm just telling you now. Okay, 5 plus -5 plus -5, right? So you add the numbers, keep the sign. Okay, what about this one? Different signs. What's the rule when you have to add with different signs? Subtract the numbers, keep the sign of the larger number, so it's positive. Okay, now actually that's all I need to practice with you. So press pause right now, do these two. Okay, so you gotta press pause. Okay, all right, press pause and do these two. Okay, all right, and we're back. So let's see. So 10 plus 15, same signs, add them, keep the sign. Add them, keep the sign. This one, subtract them, keep the sign of the larger number, which is a negative. Add, subtract them, right? Keep the sign of the larger number, so it's just 0. Okay, now I'm gonna mix those two rules up. Try this one. Yep, -10 plus 0 is still -10. Now you gotta ask yourself, right? Ask yourself, are these the same signs or different signs? Same signs, right? Add them, keep the sign, right? How about these two? Same signs or different signs? Different signs, right? Subtract them, and that's it. Okay, that's how you do it. Now, that's just adding, by the way. So we are 20-something minutes into the lesson, and we are halfway. Oh man, I'm gonna have to split this up. Has to be add, subtract. This has to be 3 weeks. Okay, all right, so hold on, let me think. All right, you know what? Let's go forward with this, okay? Because I don't want you to do too much more work during the summer. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. All right, press pause right now, practice. Now I'm gonna ask that you eventually start timing yourself, okay? Because it's not good enough to be able to do this. You have to do this quickly and accurately. So let's see. So press pause right now, and because in like a couple of seconds I'm going to show you the answer key. So press pause, do these 8 questions, and then when you come back I'll show you the answer key. Okay, and we're back. So this is the answer key. So press pause again to go over the answers. All right. And if you get it wrong, look for 2 things. If you got something wrong, are you adding, and are they the same signs? Okay, so you got to look out for that. All right, so here's the next set of questions. So press pause. Now I would recommend that if you really know what you're doing, you can do all these questions in less than a minute. All right, as a matter of fact, how long did it take me to do those 8 questions? Probably 15 seconds. Okay, yeah. So if you are relatively if you're relatively good at adding integers, right? It shouldn't take you that long. Now notice number 13 and 16, they got like 3 digits, actually 12 and 14 also, and 15. Okay, all right. So go ahead, press pause, and when we come back, all the answers are gonna be there. Okay, oh, this is blocking you. When you come back, all the answers are gonna be there. So press pause right now. Okay, all right, so these are the answers. Okay, took me maybe like 10 seconds more to do these this time around because some of these have 3 digits, but you know, it's not difficult whatsoever. Well, not for me. So, all right, so these are the answers again, right? If you got something wrong, look at the signs. All right, a lot of times when students get these questions wrong, they just somehow ignore the sign. Okay, so don't do that. All right, now we need to move on. We need to move on to subtraction. Okay, again, if you need more practice, I'm going to give you plenty of questions on the homework so that you can practice. Okay, all right. Let's see, subtracting integers. Okay, what's the rule? I'm going to give you the rule right away. I don't know why I have a number line and a cat for this one, actually. But doesn't matter. I might need it. All right, let's see. So for this one, now, the rule for subtracting integers is very interesting, at least to me. So when we're subtracting integers, all you need to know is you add its opposite. In other words, you keep change. Now I know when you guys did fractions, when you did dividing fractions, you did keep, change, flip. This is a little bit different. This is keep, change, change. So what do I mean by that? Watch this. Keep, add, right? Keep, change, you add. So you change this to addition. Okay, you, oh, wait, no. You keep. So you keep the first number, right? And then you change the subtraction to an addition problem, and you change the second number. Okay, one more time. When you're subtracting integers, you keep the first number, you change this to a plus, right? Addition, and then you change this number here, 3, to its opposite, which means it's now -3. Now, obviously, I think everyone here knows 7 minus 3 is 4. I mean, you know, this is not like rocket science, but I'm just trying to make a point that this works, okay? So 7 plus -3, when you add with different signs, what do you do again? Right, you subtract them, and then what do you do with the sign? Yep, you take the sign of the larger number, so it's +4, right? Same answer. Let's try it for this one. Keep, all right, so K, C, C. Keep, change, change. So keep 3, change the subtraction to addition, change the 7 to -7, right? 3 plus -7. What happens when you have different signs? Yep, you subtract them, keep the sign of the larger number. Okay, one last one. Keep, change, change, right? So keep, change, change. Keep the 7, change the minus to a plus, change the -3 to a +3, 7 plus 3, 10. Okay, so what I want to emphasize is this. I know this looks like a lot of information, even just between these 3 examples in the purple. But I'm going to tell you now, the more practice you get, meaning by the end of 7th grade, every time you see a double negative like this, you would just add it automatically. So when you see a negative right after another negative like this, you would just add them. Okay, these are little things that you notice in time. It's just that you're learning this for the first time, and hence it's difficult. Okay, but like anything, like the more practice you get, the better you get at it, right? All right, so let's practice a little bit. Okay, again, so here's what we've learned so far, right? So let me quiz you to see if you remember this. When you add with the same signs, what's the rule? Again, when you add with the same signs, what's the rule? Right, you add them and keep the sign, right? Okay. When you add with different signs, what do? Right, you subtract them and you keep the sign of the larger number, right? When you add with different signs, you subtract them and keep the sign of the larger number. When you subtract, what's the rule? Only 3 words. Yeah, KCC, right? Keep, change. Okay, so let's get some practice in. All right, I know this is a very long lesson. Okay, subtraction practice. Okay, so okay, let's do some of these together. Do we have more practice? Yeah, we have more practice. Okay, perfect. Let's try these 5 together. Okay. So when you subtract, what's the rule? Keep, change, right? Keep the -5, change this to a plus, adding, change this to a negative. Got that? Right? By the way, you don't need a plus sign here, technically speaking. Like this is kind of superfluous. Like you don't need that, okay? Some people do it. I just want to make sure you know that. How are we doing on time? Wow. Okay, all right. So now that this is an addition problem, go back to the original 2 rules. Are we adding with the same signs or different signs? Yeah, same signs. What do you do when you add with the same signs? Right, you add them, keep the sign. Okay? What about this one? Keep, change, right? Subtraction, right? So change this to a plus. You can do this, by the way. And then you can change this to a plus. So -8 plus 8. Now, it looks like you're adding, right? What do you do when you add with different signs? What's the rule again? Right, subtract them and keep the sign of the larger number, so it's a 0. Okay? Another one. Again, keep, change, right? Keep the 0, change this to a plus, change the +8 to a -8. In other words, what's 0 minus 8? That's what this really means. This is just 0 minus 8, by the way. I don't know if you guys recognize that. Okay, so what's... Now, signs are different when we add them, right? So what do you do when you add the signs are different? By the way, it's just -8. I know that, okay? But if you want to follow the rules, you know, to the T, when the signs are different, you subtract them. 8 minus 0 is 8. Keep the sign. What's the bigger number between 8 and 0? Yeah, it's 8. What's the sign? Yeah, negative. Okay, all right. 2 more. Keep, change, right? Subtraction, keep, change this to a +3, 7 plus 3. Yep, 10, right? Last one, keep, change. So what's that? Keep, change this to a plus sign, change this to a -8. Looks like we're adding with the same sign. So what do you do when you add with the same signs? Yep, add them, keep the sign. Okay, all right. If you want some more practice, which I think you should, try these 8 right now, and then when you come back, I will show you the answer key. Okay, so press pause right now. Okay, all right, and there's the answer key. So press pause, go over it. Okay, I was doing something and I wanted to point this to your direction, but okay, all right, never mind. All right, so here we go. 4, no, not 4 more, 8 more. So try these 8 right now, press pause, and then we'll go over it. Okay, here we go. So here we have the answer key. Okay, again, if you get something wrong, now you have to ask yourself 2 questions. 1, is this asking me to add or subtract? 2, did I somehow like mistaken the signs? Okay, all right, now let's see what's next. Oh, is there a video I want to show you? Maybe not. All right, so now this is mixed practice, so I know this is a lot of work. Okay, so this is why if you wanna spread this video out over like 2 days, I do not blame you. Okay, all right, so well, we got a few examples here. Okay, all right, so try these right now. All right, again, I'm mixing it up because I want to know if you know both rules for addition and subtraction. Okay, so when you come back, all right, again, take your time. I know I said that if you can do this quickly and accurately, that shows that you've mastered the subject, right? But what I want to say also is, if you before you can do this quickly, you have to do this accurately. Like there's no point in doing this quickly, but then everything is wrong. Like it defeats the purpose, right? So make sure you get this accurately first, and the more practice you get getting this accurately, the speed will come along. Okay, so don't worry too much about doing this slowly right now. Okay, it's no big deal. Okay, all right, so press pause right now and I'll go over it. So press pause. Okay, so we're almost there. So these are the answer keys again, right? You got to know the rules. You got to know the rules inside out. Like I don't know how to say this, any more simpler. So you just got to know the rules and you got to practice a lot. All right, it's literally just like multiplication tables. It's literally the same set of skills required. All right, 2 more questions. So press pause right now. All right, and then when you come back, I will show you the last 2 answers. Okay, so press pause right now. And there we go. Those are last 2 answers. In the next lesson, all right, next week, you will be learning multiplying, dividing integers. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Know the rules for adding and subtracting. Take the week, memorize those 2 rules. Okay? Those skills is going to last you for the rest of your life. It's just like multiplication. All right? And I don't say that lightly. Again, memorize the rules. Being able to add, subtract positive and negative numbers, all right, you're going to need that skill for the rest of your life. So that's all I gotta say. Okay, all right. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and do the practice, all right, from Problem Attic. And bye-bye.
OMG, that was so good.